Let's look at the top 23 highest paying jobs in tech because tech stocks are booming again. We're going to use the most accurate source on the internet for tech jobs salary and total compensation data, and that's levels.fyi. But first, before we go into the tech jobs, let's look at a couple other roles that pay very highly out of MBA programs as a comparison point. The median management consultant makes $148,500. We're talking about the biggest strategy consulting firms like McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. And if we look at investor banking salary, it's actually not as high as you'd think at $164,000. This is mainly because a lot of the bankers who work these 12-hour days at the beginning of their career don't make a lot of money, and most of them wash out of the business before they get to the big money at the top ranks. Now let's go to the tech jobs. At number 23, this one pays the least and is at the most risk of being replaced by AI, but it's critical to a business, and that's the customer service representative at $70,000. This one is the most distributed throughout the United States and is very remote friendly because that's the best way for tech companies to save money. They don't typically need customer service representatives to be in office because they're taking the same types of tasks over and over again and don't collaborate as much except at the management levels. And if you find this valuable, hit that like button so the AI overlords can get this in front of more people who need it. Number 22 on the list helps all the business operations teams make financial decisions, and that's a business analyst at $109,000. If you look at the top 10%, they're making over $180,000. Number 21 on the list is sometimes my favorite person at a tech company. They're the people who give you your laptops, help debug software, make sure your VPN's working, make sure the Wi-Fi in the office is working really well. They're critical to the quality of your work life day to day, and that's the IT specialist, who make a median of $114,000. Number 20 on the list writes all the technical documentations and is great if you're a writer and like to talk to technical crowds, but you don't want to do coding yourself, and that's technical writer. They make $133,000. Number 19 on the list is really important to making sure that there's information security within a company, and that's the security analyst. This is a cybersecurity field role that can make $135,000, but well over $200,000 when you get to the senior levels. Number 18 on the list, make sure that there's no bugs in production and make sure that there's quality assurance in the coding environment. That's the software development and engineering tester or QA tester, and they can make $139,000, but also over $200,000 as you get to the senior levels. Next up is the person who actually helps find candidates like yourself, and that's a recruiter who can make $139,000 as the median compensation, but also over $200,000 when they get to manager levels. Number 60 on the list is a highly collaborative role that makes sure everyone's getting the right things done at the right time and that resources are properly allocated to make project deadlines, and that's your project manager. Project managers make $139,000 as a median compensation, but can make over $200,000 at the best companies at the top levels. Next on the list is a software development related role that ensures fast, reliable, and high quality delivery, and that is the DevOps engineer. DevOps engineers can make $150,000 as the median compensation, but even the top 25% of DevOps engineers make over $200,000. You can make over $250,000 at the top levels. Next up, these are the people that make the fancy advertising and marketing materials, and that's the marketers in the company. Now, this isn't really one role, it's many marketing roles that are all bundled into one category. But marketers at tech companies can make $157,000 as the median compensation. And you can make well over $200,000, maybe even $300,000 when you get to the very high levels like director or VP of marketing at many of these top tech companies. In fact, if you're an elite tech company CMO, you're making hundreds of thousands. And of course, someone has to sell all the software, and that's sales managers. Sales managers can make $160,000, but their pay is extremely variable because they get a commission payment on top of their salary and bonuses, and they can make well into the high six figures. You can see in the top 10% of the US are making at least $320,000 a year. Of course, next on the list, these are the people that make sure that the user interfaces and user experiences of all your products are working perfectly and that things are thoughtfully designed, and that's your product designers. This also includes user experience and user interface designers, and they can make $154,000 in total compensation, but the top 25% are making over $200,000, and you can make almost $400,000 at the senior levels. Of course, tech companies have a lot of data, they have to do a lot of statistical analysis, they have to run experiments and figure out if they worked or not, and they need data scientists. Data scientists can make $162,000 median. The top 25% are making $218,000 or more, but I've definitely seen data scientists make $300,000, $400,000 at some of the top companies. Next on the list, make sure that all of the large cross-functional programs that require multiple teams to get things done are managed properly, and that's the program manager. Program managers are responsible for very large, very critical initiatives within a company, and so they can make $178,000 as the median compensation. But definitely the top 10% of program managers can make $300,000 or more. Next on the list is a combination of a technical role and a sales role, and these are solution architects. Solution architects work with clients to figure out what their technical challenges are, help answer their questions, and help develop a strategy for those clients to be able to onboard with a new product and make sure they have the technical solutions in place. Because this is a more technical role, solutions architects can make $195,000 as a median compensation, and the top 10% are definitely making over $300,000. The next role on the list is very similar to solutions architects, but play a much bigger part in the sales process, and that's a sales engineer. Very similar to the solutions architects, they work with customers, but mostly during the sales process to answer all those customers' technical questions, do presentations about the product, do demos, make sure that everything is in line so the customer can make the right decision to buy the product. Sales engineers usually end the relationship with the customer pretty early on. Solutions architects maintain a relationship with the customer well after the sale is completed. Because sales engineers are closer to actually making revenue, $200,000 is the median total compensation. And just like sales managers, the top 10% can make over $300,000, and I've seen $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 payouts for sales engineers. Number 7 on the list puts together the user requirements, the business requirements, and the product design and technical constraints, and make sure that the right things are being built for the product. And that's a product manager. Product management is the role I chose, and they make a median compensation of $202,000. The top 25% are making over $270,000, and the top 10% are making over $300,000. But product management was the career I chose, and in my very first US tech job, I made $180,000 a year. And now as a senior director, I command over 7 figures in my total compensation. Number 6 on the list probably has less data points than product manager, but it also pays pretty well because of the technical aspects of the role. This also works with engineers and with the business to make sure that the right things are being built on the right time. This role is called the technical program manager. Technical program managers have to be both technical and very good collaborators. They don't do as much strategy and design thinking as a product manager, but it's very similar in some of the collaborative aspects. Technical program managers can make $220,000 a year as their median compensation. The top 25% are making over $300,000, and the top 10% are making over $375,000. Now note there's less data on the technical program manager data set, and therefore this might be higher than it actually is in reality. So one way to check is by looking at the exact same level at the same company between this role and some of the other roles, which we'll do a bit later. Now this role is actually separated from the individual contributor version of the role, which was the data scientist, and this is the data science manager. Of course, being a much more senior position, data science managers make more than data scientists, and the median total compensation is $235,000. This means that the data science role actually should be higher on the list if you combined the data science manager and data science tracks, like in some of the other functions. The top 10% of data science managers are making over $400,000 a year. Similarly, product designers should be higher up on the list because the product design manager is on this list separately. And product design managers make $242,000 as the median total compensation. The top 25% are making $350,000 or more. And get this, the top 10% are making over $490,000. Of course, this is a slimmer data set, but heads of design do make a lot of money at tech companies. Next up on the list is number 3 officially, but if it were totally aggregated as a function, it should be number 1 on the list, and this software engineer. Software engineers obviously make the code and actually build the products that you use day to day. And they make $173,000 as the median total compensation for the individual contributors. The top 10% of software engineers are making over $350,000. However, in big tech, later in your career, you can make $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 as a software engineer. And of course, those software engineers who work in machine learning or artificial intelligence, AI, are going to make way more money. These people typically have PhDs or masters at least. And when you're studying AI, it's as much math as computer science and engineering. ML and AI engineers make a little bit lower on this level, and they productionize the models that are used. But ML and AI researchers make even more money because they're the ones doing the groundbreaking work to make the models work even better, which is the big race now. If you work in ML and AI, you're probably making $250,000, but the top 10% are making over $460,000 a year. And if you work at OpenAI, you're making $950,000 a year. Next up is the software engineering manager role. These are the people who manage the teams of software engineers. The median total compensation is $300,000. The top 25% make over $430,000 in the US, and the top 10% make over $581,000. And of course, if you're a director of engineering at a place like Meta, you're making over $1.5 million. Now, a lot of people ask about designer, data scientist, product manager, software engineer, who really makes the most and what is the real difference between these? So let's look at an individual company at an individual level and compare amongst the different roles. This will change a little bit by company because some companies like Apple care a lot more about design than product management. other companies like Google care a lot more about engineering than they do the other roles. We're going to use Google in the L mid-level position as an example. As you can see, for a software engineer at the L5 level at Google, they're making $359,000 per year. Product manager at that level is making $350,000 per year. The designer is making $292,000 per year. The difference between L5 software engineer and an F software engineering manager isn't that much. It's about $40,000 per year. However, it's considered pretty much the same level. A technical program manager is making $320,000 per year, so that's more than a designer, but also less than a product manager, which is unlike the ranking we saw. Sales, $285,000 as an L5 at Google. The program manager makes $267,000, and the data scientist makes much more than you would expect based on the ranking, which is $329,000. That $329,000 makes it third on the list, behind product management, which is behind software engineering. Let's try a different level in company. If we look at Meta at the E4 position, a Meta E4 software engineer makes $294,000 per year. A Meta E4 product manager makes $233,000 per year, while the data scientist is right behind it at $225,000. The product designer is behind that at $202,000, and the technical program manager is right above the product designer at $216,000. Once you're ready to get into any of these roles, you need to have the right job search strategy. So subscribe at toptechnewsletter.com and watch this next video on job search strategies.